Han meditation. Now we're getting somewhere spicy.
So, our voice and our mind, the thoughts we hear all the time, 24/7.
Yep.
We are so attached to them. We think it's us because we hear it constantly and it's in our own mind.
You hear it.
But it's not you.
But if you hear it,
exactly.
It's an object, guys.
You can't listen
come
to
on,
it.
Man. That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. If you hear it, it's an object,
and as
man.
He says,
that's crazy, Kelly.
You move this, you move your finger, you pick this up, you go here, you go there. You're the one controlling it. And you are directing it. So we are not our bodies.
I love how he says that all five senses objectify the body. If it is an object to the subject, then it cannot be the subject. So, and one of the quotes that he said that was so powerful to me was, deep sleep is not an absence of consciousness, but a consciousness of absence. So truly think about that. When you're in deep sleep, there's not an absence of consciousness. There's just a consciousness of absence, a consciousness of nothing. So that's where, this stuff can get really paradoxical, even whenever you're thinking about the nature of reality and why does anything exist? Because even if nothing exists, that's something that exists. This is what needs to be out in society every day. Hey guys, if you want to learn more about Vedanta, I have a blog article on my website. You can click it and read the whole layout and what it's all about from a Westerner's perspective. And if you like the video, like, subscribe, and comment. It only takes 1 second, and it lets me know that you guys enjoy the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy.
Today, the subject is Purnam. It's a Sanskrit word which means the whole, the full, infinite, limitless. This actually forms a pair with last Sunday's talk, which was titled Shunyam, which means the void or emptiness. So emptiness and fullness.
It's kind of like the yin and the yang.
In fact, just a little correction for last Sunday's talk. I mentioned a particular book, Progressive Stages of Meditation on Emptiness. And I said somebody who had recommended it to me, but it turns out somebody else had recommended. And he wrote, no, it was me. I recommended it to you. So it was Jackson Peterson, who is a Tibetan Buddhist master and teacher in this country and abroad also, many places abroad. So we are very grateful to him because that book really put a lot of things in place for me. Purnam, why I selected this as, this is sort of, for me, this is a word which encompasses the vision of Vedanta in its entirety and its depth. For me, it is particularly evocative because when I was growing up, a little boy in a city called Bhubaneswar on the eastern coast of India, we have a very beautiful Ramakrishna Mission ashram there, which was founded all the way back in 1918 by Swami Brahmananda, the first president of the Ramakrishna order, whom Sri Ramakrishna considered his spiritual son. Beautiful ashram and very, very deep spiritual vibrations there. Now, as a little kid, one of the memories of the ashram that I have is going upstairs to the shrine. The shrine was on the roof. It still is. Oh, wow. But in the old shrine, when you go up there, this was about 40 years ago. First, you enter through a room, you used to in those days. And that room was a bare little room, very sparse. And I can still feel the cool floor on my bare feet and the sunlight streaming through the open windows. There's a very beautiful garden outside and very silent, except for sometimes chirping of birds. And there was just this one mantra written on a wooden board hung up on the wall. That's all. There was nothing else in that room as far as I remember. And that mantra said, in Sanskrit, the famous Shanti mantra from the Upanishads, Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, which means Om, that is the infinite Brahman. That means, I'll explain that. So that is the infinite Brahman. This manifested universe is also Purnam, is that infinite Brahman, is Brahman. And from that Purnam, this Purnam has come. From that fullness, this fullness has arisen. Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya. In this manifested universe, if you recognize the infinite here, then Purnameva Vashishyate, the infinity alone remains, or the fullness alone remains. So if you put it together, what does it say? It says, that is the full. This universe is also the full. And this fullness has come from that fullness. Mm-hmm. And in this, if you recognize the infinity, then that fullness or that infinity alone remains. Om, peace, peace, peace.
That's really beautiful that he said, if you recognize this fullness or that fullness, then this fullness remains.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like recognizing the infinite nature of yourself, being a part of the universe, being a part of creation, recognizing that you are infinite, everything around you is infinite, all of us are infinity, and being that, you remain and keep the infinity inside of you. So you keep that limitless energy inside of you by recognizing that that's what's out there, and you are what's out there, as above, so below. Everything that is out there is within as well. So people have to realize that. And I love the way that he said that once you realize that, then that's what remains.
Yeah, it makes me just think of the phrase, the one is the all and the all is the one, because we are part of the all and we have the all within us and naturally by being part of the all. So I like that. I bet he has a lot more to say on that.
Yep.
I don't know how much I understood of that. I was a little kid. I knew some Sanskrit because we were studying it in school, so I was able to read it. But it was very evocative for me. I don't know if it's some kind of memories of past life or something, but I always was fascinated. I remember before going to the shrine, I would stop and stare and just soak in the sunlight and the stillness in that room and that mantra on the wall. That's why it's always remained my favorite peace chant, Shanti mantra. Today, I want to go a little bit into it. It's the deepest truth about Vedanta, about Hinduism. And I think it's really great to reflect upon it a little bit. Let's go into this, in the profound depths of this mantra a little bit before we go ahead. Purnamadaha Purnamidam. The Sanskrit words ada idam. Ada means that. Something that is not perceptible. You don't see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it. You can't comprehend it with your intellect. You don't have any information about it. It's something that you take on belief. For example, God. God is in heaven. I don't see God. I don't understand it not too well. It's beyond my perception. It's beyond creation. That. In Sanskrit, there's a word for it, paroksha. Paroksha means beyond the range of our senses. It's suprasensible. So
I like this because we get to learn so much.
Or infinity. That which is paroksha, beyond our range of our senses, which we take on belief. Maybe our religion has told us about it. Maybe we sort of believe in it, some kind of transcendent reality. And then it says, Purnamidam. This one, which we perceive right now, this world. This also is full. This is also full. Now, let's concentrate on the words idam and ada. Idam means this perceptible universe, which we are experiencing all the time. Ada means that, transcendent, which we don't experience, and we sort of either believe in it or don't believe in it. In any case, even if you believe in it, you take it on faith. And now see what the mantra is doing. It's so subversive. It just says both that which is transcendent and that which is right now here empirically perceived and which you're experiencing all the time. They're the same thing. By using the word Purnam, that's Purnam. This is Purnam.
Okay.
It's exactly the same thing. What has been done here is paroksha and this pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means direct.
Okay, direct.
These two words are brought together and both are called Purnam. By
So that beyond
what is done
and then
is,
direct.
there's a Sanskrit word, badhita, negated.
Mm.
The remoteness and the immediate perceptibility, both of them are negated by showing that it's one reality.
I love that. I love that.
Go a little further. If that
Both
sounds
are negated
cryptic and
by
difficult,
showing
it'll become
one
easier.
reality.
But it is a very profound subject.
That's beautiful.
If you go a
I
little
love the way
further,
he
the
breaks
next
it
part
down
of the
too,
mantra
so
says,
easily to
Very
understand.
Purnat Purnam udachyate. From that fullness, this fullness has arisen. If you want to put it in the language of theistic religion, God created the world. That's what is being said. God created the world. God created the world. From that fullness, this fullness has arisen. In the Sanskrit grammar of it, Purnat, that's the fifth case ending. From that. Fifth case. Always from that means cause. A cause is being pointed out. And this is the effect. That is the creator. This is the created. And again, the mantra does something subversive. It says, that and this, that cause and this effect are both Purnam. They are not both. They are the same Purnam. By saying that what has been done, causality is negated. From that, this has been created. The mantra is saying, no, nothing has been created. That alone exists.
Everything.
And we
is.
Pausing
are
it right
experiencing
now,
it
so-
as this.
That's beautiful because, as you said, everything is. So what he's saying is it's not. They're both the same Purnam, meaning that creation only has one form existing. The only quality existence has is existing. You can't even imagine something that doesn't exist because it doesn't exist. Energy can't be created nor destroyed. So you've always been here. If you exist now, then you're here always, now and forever. That's something I say in my meditations all the time. And it just comes to me because that's truly what I believe. And through meditation, through listening to people like Swami, this information can clearly come to you and people like me and people that are receptive. If you're watching this video, then you're one of those people. So that is just such an insightful and beautiful thing, hearing that, because just hearing that, everything is already existing is just such a profound and incredible thing. It sounds like common sense, but it's really not, because people don't really understand the depth to it and the deepness of it, that both are the same, both are two different sides of the same coin, but they're the same coin. So that's what he's saying. That and this are the same Purnam. The only thing that there is creation.
Yeah, what it kind of makes me think of, because we actually just saw The Little Mermaid. We brought my nieces, and it makes me think about how, The Little Mermaid, she wants to go to the surface so bad. And to her, it's like a totally different reality that she's so curious about, but she knows nothing about and feels like she can never be there because she lives down here in the water. And then the prince that she falls in love with, he's actually quite fascinated with the ocean and wants to know more about the waters. And it's kind of like that. So, we can live on Earth and we wonder about the universe and the spirit world and all these other dimensions and realities. And we feel like it's something totally separate and different from us.
Wow.
But it's still just one. And in the same way, the water and the land, it's still one Earth. So it kind of makes me think of that.
That's really profound. That's a really profound thought, because
Thank you.
You're right. That is how it is. It's like people always are looking for something outside, not realizing that, as he said, bringing it full circle in the beginning, what is outside is inside, essentially. That is this. So that's a very profound thought, because like you said, the Little Mermaid, she wants to get above water. He wants to go underwater and beyond the sea. But it's just, the duality of both of those things. It's, hard to wrap your mind around it, but those are the same, but it doesn't feel like that whenever you're just in one specific area. That's why it's good to meditate and open your consciousness and reach out and truly learn this kind of information. This is a very enlightening and brilliant subject that we love to talk about. So thank you for watching this video. Like and subscribe, and continue to watch for for the next part, we're going to go through this whole video and we're going to talk about it and discuss it and view it. So,
yeah, we really enjoyed it and we're going to make sure we watch the whole thing. So stay tuned. See you in the next one.
yep.
This Purnam, this limitless, this whole, that alone exists. There is no difference between cause and effect. See, this is very profound because in traditional theistic religion, dualistic religion, what is said? God is the cause, the creator, and this universe is the created. Dualistic in the sense of two different realities.
That's
So the
so
cause
real.
is real.
That's so real.
A dualistic religion will say cause is real. There are dualistic schools of Vedanta which will say the cause, God is real, and this manifested universe is also real. Two realities. And they're
'Cause
separate.
that doesn't make
They're two
sense.
realities. God has created a
I'm just
separate
going to
universe.
pause it really quick. That doesn't make sense because what he's saying is you can't have two different realities in one reality. It has to be
True.
one thing. Either everything is all that is, or something is all that is, but it was created. How does that make sense? Because everything has to be one thing. Everything has to be one. Everything has to be created. It can't be two separate things. So like he said, everything from God, but people in those kind of religions, they believe that, okay, God is here and then God created
Right.
this world. So,
Right.
it's two different things. We're here, but God created us. It's like, in reality, it's kind of like, no, we're all one. We all are God. We're not gods, but we are God because we are all the same thing connected to that infinite source of creation. That and this is the same. That
Yeah.
and this.
And then
very
not only
very profound.
Oh, sorry, but
No, go ahead.
and then furthermore, not only are we God, this table is God, this
Yeah. Yep.
tree is God, this microphone is God, and then it really gets down to it that we really are one. When you really just simply, as he put it, it turns your whole mind around to really see the reality of things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Playing now. 10:33. Play.
It's not that they are the same. The non-dualist, the Advaitin, will ask here a question, is that, see, if that is real, nobody doubts that the creator, God, Brahman is real. Neither the dualist nor the non-dualist doubts. Both agree. There is some cause, Brahman, which is real. Some reality, Brahman. It's real. Now, the non-dualist asks this question to the dualist. If that is real, and something has come from that, something other than that has come. If something is other than reality, what does it what happens to it? It becomes unreal, becomes false. In fact, my dear dualist, when you claim that the world is a separate reality created by a creator God, it's equivalent to claiming the world is false. Because it's other than the real God, which I and you, both of us, agree. Whereas what the Advaitin says is that that Purnam and this Purnam, the cause Purnam and the effect Purnam, they're both one and the same. There is no cause and effect. This is the deepest conclusion which you find in texts like the Mandukya Karika, for example. Negation of causality. There is apparent causality. And there is something which appears as this because they look different. They are experienced differently. It's like the gold made into the ornaments, the clay made into the pot. Now you would say clay has produced a pot. If you say produced a pot, is there a pot apart from the clay? If you look at the pot, it's clay and clay throughout. If you look at the golden ornament, it's gold and gold throughout. And the claim of this mantra is that if you examine this world, which appears to be a world of duality, of diversity, of continuous change, of ups and downs, of pleasure and pain, of life and death, if you actually examine, if we have eyes to see, we will see that absolute truth alone exists here. Satchidananda alone exists here. See, what I'm saying is this. I remember asking this great Swami who passed away several years ago, Swami Nirmuktanandaji. He was a disciple of Swami Shivananda. I believe he was a spiritually very advanced soul. Many of us did believe. So once I asked him that he was sitting, if you have gone to Belur Mutt, the main monastery there on the bank of the Ganga, you've seen the temple of the Holy Mother, Ma Sharada. So you're sitting there and facing towards the temple of Swami Vivekananda. He was sitting there, and he was at that time in his late 90s. So this Swami, I bowed down to him and I asked this question. So how does the enlightened one look upon this, this world? Is it that there is Brahman and existence, consciousness, bliss, and this world is like a kind of a shadow? And then he thought for a moment and he said, no, why should that be? There is only one. This idea that there is a reality and there is a falsity, that there is a falsity, this is still dualistic thinking. This comes from an analysis, Here in this world of appearances, I am analyzing and finding out the reality, and so this world remains as an appearance. Reality and appearance. But they are not two. What he told me, why should that be? There is only one. And of course, I had to push. So I asked him, all right, I didn't quite get what he was saying. All right, but is that how you are seeing this? I was trying to find out, is he going to confirm that he's enlightened? Is that how you are seeing the world right now? Are you seeing this display right now as one divine reality? And he replied with another story. He said, there was another very great monk, Swami Buddhananda and Swami Jagadananda, disciple of the Holy Mother. Jagadananda was regarded as an enlightened person in his own time. This was in the 1950s, probably. So one day, this Swami Buddhananda, who was in charge of our Ramakrishna mission in Delhi, he asked Swami Jagadananda apparently, well, sir, people say you're enlightened. Are you enlightened? And the Swami replied, if I say yes, will you believe me? I immediately understood what the Swami was trying to tell me. And I bowed down to him and said, yes, sir, I've understood, Swami. So this is a question about so if you're saying, are you trying to say that this itself is Brahman, what we are experiencing? It doesn't look like it. There's this question about the reality of the world and the falsity of the world. There are schools of Vedanta which say the world is real. There are schools of Vedanta, like Advaita Vedanta, non-dual Vedanta, which we're speaking about, which say the world is false.
So I really love what Swami's saying here. I always love listening to him because that's how he asked when he said, is that how you view the world? I mean, it's difficult to view the world in that way every single day at all times. But in reality, I've always tried to view the world as in, if you could look at things for what they truly are, then like Kelly said in the earlier, if you look at this table, if you look at everything, it's all a part of God. So the way that I view it is every single thing, if you could break it down to its most pure form, it's just pure energy. So it doesn't matter if it's this table, this geode, this mouse, this, computer next to me, the camera, it doesn't matter what it is. Everything is just pure energy, the air, everything, the world. So if you just had eyes to view with the purest amount of what everything was in the purest amount of form, you would just see one thing, just energy, pure energy all around you. You'd be connected to everything you see, that everyone is one, and that individuality is an illusion. That is what you would see if you truly had goggles that you could just put on and see everything for what it truly is. So I completely understand what Swami is saying. I love watching his videos and I love hearing him explain things in such a finite and non-finite as well way, where it's just malleable and it's just clear, and he's a great orator.
Yeah, the concept of existence is such a deep and profound concept, and just listening to things and thinking about it, meditating on it, writing about it, the more you take in about it, the more deeply you'll understand it. And there'll be times where you just you can feel yourself go through to another deeper level of enlightenment. You'll just get these epiphanies where you just understand more things. And he just breaks it down in such a way that really anyone, whatever kind of level you're at with your understanding of existence, you can really follow with it. And existence is just so interesting. And I'm the kind of person I always like to ask why. I'm just a curious mind. And when I think about existence, I always just think, but why does existence exist? And sometimes my dual mind will come in too. And sometimes I'll start to think, well, another thing must have created this existence. But that doesn't have to be true. I think that definitely comes from more of my dual way of thinking, as he mentioned. But that's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I think about as well. Like, what is anything? why does anything exist?
And like
what
how,
created
really?
God? What created creation? But
right.
at the end of the day, there either has to be something or there is nothing. Even something that's non-existent is a thing. So even if there was nothing and there's non-existence, that is something. Therefore, something has to be there, which birthed creation. So, and that's just, in my opinion. But something has to be there. So whether it's nothing or something, something is nothing, nothing is something, something is there. That's simple. So thank you guys for watching the video. We're going to do this whole video. This is part 2. We're going to do the entire thing and continue watching it because we love watching Swami. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoy this video.
Stay tuned. Make sure you watch part 1 if you didn't see it, and we'll see you in part 3.
See ya.
Han Meditations.
And there's a big quarrel about it. Is the world real or false? Is it a reality in itself or is it an appearance? Really speaking, that question is misguided. Sri Ramakrishna was asked once that is the world false? Like Advaita Vedanta would say. Sri Ramakrishna said, why should the world be false? That is a step in Vedantic inquiry. In Bengali, he said, Bicharer Katha. In the step in Vedantic inquiry. Now, it's a very nuanced reply. He did not say the world is not false, it's real. He didn't say that. He didn't say, of course the world is false. He said, no. When you say the world is false, he knows what's in the mind of the person who's asking. The person is asking from an Advaitic perspective, non-dual perspective. See, that's a step in non-dual inquiry. Vicharer Katha in Bengali, he said. But that's not remarkable also. Sri Ramakrishna's observation, that's a Vicharer Katha, it's not remarkable because Advaita itself, Advaitic texts like the Panchadashi, a classic of post-Shankara Advaita, they also say the world is false, and I'll tell you exactly what they say. Vidyaranya Swami, the author of the text Panchadashi, he says, what is the status of the world? Is it real or is it false? And who is saying this? A follower of Adi Shankaracharya, committed non-dualist, the author of the non-dual classic Panchadashi. He says that this world, he says, to the ordinary man in the street, he says, Vastavi, it's absolutely real. It can't be ignored. It's real. Vastavi means Vastu, real. To the philosopher, to the inquirer, he says it is anirvachaniya. It cannot be classified as real ultimately or as unreal. That is the definition of falsity. Something that appears to us, like the rope, like the snake in the rope. It appears to us, like the water in the mirage. It appears to us, but it's not real in itself. There's no real water in the mirage. There's no real snake when it's actually a rope. So something that appears but does not exist. You can't deny that it appeared to you. For a moment you thought it was something else. So that's called falsity. It's like a lie. Somebody tells a lie. It's not the truth. But it's not nothing either. It didn't keep quiet. See, there are 3 things. Telling the truth and keeping quiet and telling a lie. So when somebody tells a lie, the person did say something. It's not nothing, but it's not the truth. Similarly, falsity is when we experience the reality as something other than what it is. So we experience the rope as a snake. You're not experiencing a rope as a rope. You're experiencing the desert, not as a desert, but as an oasis full of water. That's a mirage. So Panchadashi, the author of Panchadashi, Vidyaranya Swami says, when you inquire with logic, when you reason, you will come to this conclusion that the world is an appearance. It's not nothing, but it's not the ultimate truth. You can't say it's nothing because it appears to you. You experience it all the time. But you can't say it's the ultimate truth, which is pure consciousness, existence, whatever you call it. And then he goes on to say, this author of Panchadashi, to the enlightened one. So 3 views, the worldly man's view, the philosopher's view, and the enlightened one's view. To the enlightened one, he says, there is no world, there's Brahman alone. There's only one non-dual reality. Just like that Swami told me. Why should it be 2? It's only one. Because I had asked that Swami, is it that you see, the enlightened one sees absolute reality, existence, consciousness, bliss, and this world like a shadow sort of hanging around, And he said, no, it's not like that. It's one. And the one is Brahman, or that absolute reality. So see, 3 answers to the question, is the world real? To the man on the street, yes, the world is real. Vastavi, it's true. To the person in a dream, whatever he is experiencing in the dream doesn't know it's a dream. It's real. It's practically, it's what is being experienced. But when you inquire into it, it's neither real nor non-existing. It's what is called false. And for the fully enlightened one, it's Brahman. Brahman alone exists. There's no separate reality called the world. And that's what exactly Sri Ramakrishna said. When Sri Ramakrishna was asked, is this world false? He said, why should it be false? That falsity of the world is a stage in inquiry. That philosophical inquiry, when you do vichara, you come to this conclusion. The world cannot be determined as absolutely real or as completely unreal. So what is being said here is, Purnat Purnam Udachyate. If you literally translate, it means from the full, this fullness has come. But if you look a little deeper, that is being called, the cause is being called Purnam, and the effect is also being called Purnam, effectively denying that there is any cause and effect. That really nothing has happened. It seems to have happened that way, that the world seems to have appeared before you. Something has been produced, but actually it is the same reality. Purnam. In which case, what is being said here? What's being said here is, whatever we are experiencing, wherever we are, worldly, spiritual, in whatever sense, whichever religion we belong to, whatever we are experiencing, the dramatic claim is, you are experiencing nothing but God. Swami Vivekananda said, never approach anything except as God. Because that's the fact. The fact is that there's only one non-dual reality. If Advaita Vedanta is true, in that case, whatever is real must be that one reality, because it's non-dual, no second reality. If there are multiple realities, maybe, right, I'm experiencing a reality called a world, and there is some other reality called God, heaven, something else. But if it is non-dual, Advaita, then whatever we are experiencing must be that non-dual reality. In other words, whatever we are experiencing in the language of religion must be God. It's a very, why it is profound, it's a very capacious idea of the ultimate reality. What do I mean by that is, what this Purnamada Purnamidam is saying is, if it is formless and it cannot be with form, it's an incomplete God. If it is with form and you deny that it can never be formless, it's an incomplete God. If you say it is with form, but it only has to be, God has to be a male form, it's an incomplete God. Always Shiva goes with Shakti. And Shakti, you cannot say it is only Shakti. There's always Shiva in the background. If it's only female, then it's an incomplete God. If it's only to be worshipped in a form which is with a human form, it's an incomplete God. That's why in Sanatana Dharma, in Hinduism, you have God being worshipped as a fish, the Matsya Avatara, as the tortoise, the Kurma Avatara, as the man lion, in the human form, in the male form, in the female form, in the male and female form together, Ardhanarishwara, and with no form, formless. But the idea always is, if you say it is only formless, then it's an incomplete God.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. That is really interesting. So what do you think about that, Kelly? Do you like that? Because I just love hearing this, and I get excited when I'm watching, Swami speak and talk. It's just, you feel so good whenever you hear him talk. You feel so enlightened. You feel so upbeat. You feel so, ready to just take on the world and learn more. You have a hunger for knowledge when you hear this man speak.
Yeah, it's really great stuff. It's really deep stuff. Sometimes I'm more in it than others. Sometimes I really, really have to concentrate to follow along. And I like how we're taking a little bit of notes this time, because for me, listening auditory is my least best way of learning. And it really helps me to read or do. So having things written and reading it, his words, helps me comprehend it more.
Yeah. So if you see me typing or on my phone, it's because we're taking notes. Because we want to actually learn this stuff. And as you're watching it as well, if you truly want to learn, some of you probably already know this, but this particular philosophy is new to us. A lot of it is the same whenever you're, reach a certain level of high vibration enlightenment. It's all the same knowledge, but this specific information is new to us. So we like to take notes and take it seriously.
Yeah. And I mean, most people are familiar with the yin and yang. So him talking about male, female, that is really helpful. But it's just interesting because we tend, at least here in the West, we tend to think of God as a male typically. And we have to really open our mind about that, because that would be totally incomplete if God was just male. God has to be male and female, and we really have to wrap our heads around that God is everything. And that's just a good way to think of it, as male and female, because that's the yin yang that we can all understand, in a dual way of energy, a way of looking at things. But that just goes to show that we really have to open up our comprehension of all that is, and what God is, and what the universe is.
Yes. And as Kelly and I always say, even whenever I'm doing meditations, you hear me say, see yourself as everything, see God in everything. So this is something that I've been saying for a long time. So it's just very awesome to hear Swami say it as well, because what he's basically saying at the core is that everything is God. So, and I love when he said, inquire with logic. If you inquire with logic, you'd see that the world is false. But whenever you're in a dream, the dream is real. Whenever you're awake, it's real. But whenever you sleep, the dream is real. So which one is truly real? As he said, it's both real and fake. So it's this and that, as we said earlier. It's just so awesome to hear it explained in such a simplistic, awesome, finite way, where it's just, he's able to break it down so that anybody could understand this stuff. And I love hearing it. I love filling my brain up with this positive information. And I love how he said, Purnam is from the fullness, and it's also the cause and effect. So it's also both, like I said, this and that. And also, a lot of people, the reason why I like to inquire with logic is because a lot of people like to inquire with emotions. A lot of people like to inquire with their own ego, with their hubris. They're using everything but logic to be to inquire and ask questions, because the day-to-day life gets in the way. Their own mind gets in the way, their ego, their emotions. They can't stand just inquiring a situation with pure logic and reasoning. And that's how I like to approach situations. So whenever I see someone else approaching a situation with emotions and, being unreasonable, literally not approaching with reason, being unreasonable, then to me it's frustrating sometimes. But I understand that everyone is not the same. But as Swami's saying, it is truly important to get to that point where you can start inquiring with logic. And at that point, I like to break that down as just being honest with yourself. Whenever you're honest with yourself, then you're truly inquiring with the logic and taking away emotions, taking away your own ego, and looking outside of yourself and getting a different perspective of what reality is. And like Kelly said earlier, like he said, if God has form, that's an incomplete God. If God is formless, that's an incomplete God. So that's what people don't realize. Whenever you start thinking this formula, God is both, God has form and is without form. So God has form and God is without form. So if you think about it that way, right now, we're all in form. If you're watching this, you're in form. But also God is without form. So we are God living in this reality. We are all a part of God because God is everything, as Swami said. So we are all a part of God, and God is also beyond us without form. So God has to be everything, not male, not female. God is without gender. God is without form and form. And it's just such an enlightening and interesting perspective that we're watching this video. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because you have to keep in mind, you can look at something like a rock where you wouldn't even think about it being a gender at all. But you have to remember God is the rock as well.
Yep, definitely.
So you have to open up your mind. And as Han said, it's really, really important to separate yourself from emotion, which I'm always working on. It can be easier said than done at times. But it's very, very important. And I'm a little bit more familiar with Buddhism. I learned about it in a course in college. And I know that attachment is huge, huge, huge. It's all about what Buddhism is about, and being able to detach from things. And they even teach that, you know, even if, say, your wife passes away, a real Buddhist won't even be upset because that's being attached, and they'll just accept it. And that's what, and I honestly believe that emotion is probably only exists the way it does on Earth, as a way for us to express our free will. Of course, emotions exist on other planets, but it's pretty much just all high vibration emotions because they don't have free will like us. So they wouldn't even, there's no reason.
Fear.
There's no reason to have low frequency
like
emotions.
Do, you know? So that's why, you know, there's been times in my life where I did feel immense pain, and I kind of enjoyed it in a sense because I knew it wasn't normal, if that makes sense. I knew that in other realities, I don't know, like maybe from the other lives I've lived, I didn't get to experience that. So it always helped me with art and poetry and making things. And I never thought of it as a bad thing, if that makes sense. I think that everything that happens truly is good. And I am a part of that Buddhist philosophy where I believe that, you know, you don't need to have certain attachments to things.
Because it brings, basically what Buddhism says that any attachment brings about suffering. And it's pretty much true.
That's basically what the Jedi say as well, too. But, you know, it's the same thing. Even yesterday, we saved a baby bird that was in the street. I noticed it. I went and got it. I saved it. And then today we saw that the bird passed away. Kelly was really upset, you know, crying. And, you know, I cared, but I didn't have any attachment to it because I wanted it to survive and thrive. But at the end of the day, I know that it's just a cycle of life. And even though it's gone, it's completely okay. It's in a better spot. You know, that bird could have just existed to, you know, bring us even closer together. You never know what, you know, the purpose is of things because that bird was just there. And I couldn't find the nest. I couldn't find the mother. But I made sure it was in a comfortable and safe spot, took it out the street and did whatever I could. And we contacted some places to see if they could get the bird, but it was late. So there was nothing we could truly do other than that. So you just have to go with the flow of life and reality and know that everything that happens is truly good.
Then comes the Muslim or the Christian and says, well, God is formless and these Hindus have got it wrong. Smash these images and destroy the temples. No, it's an incomplete idea of God you have got. It leads to fanaticism. It leads to hatred. It leads to violence. It is what is called in Vedanta, in yoga also, raga dvesha, likes and dislikes. Strong likes and dislikes. See, what is the problem with strong likes and dislikes? Practically, it's all right. People can have preferences. We'll automatically have preferences. However, deep within, we should not hold on to these preferences as ultimately true. Because if it is a non-dual reality, then whatever we are experiencing, whether we prefer it, whether we don't prefer it, whether we love it or whether we hate it, it must be the same reality. The same Brahman in our friends and in what we consider to be our enemies. In people like us and in what we see as people different from us. In human beings and in non-human beings. In living beings and in non-living things. It must be the same background reality somewhere. Otherwise, non-duality cannot be true. When we have this idea of non-duality, it translates into Purnam. And that is what you see, if you look at the enormous breadth and richness of the Sanatana Dharma of Hinduism. The non-dualistic schools, dualistic schools, Vishishtadvaita, Dvaita, all the different schools. How can it be such extraordinary variety can happily coexist with each other. Even a lot of Hindus don't understand this. So there have been occasionally, reform schools. No, we must not worship images, and therefore let's have a reformed Hinduism without image worship. And there were reform movements always. That's all right. Hinduism is fine with that too. Sri Ramakrishna came up as a bulwark against this silliness. He comes and quite unapologetically, he goes and worships an image. And the image of Kali, Bhavatarini Kali, in Dakshineshwar. And reaches enlightenment, not just enlightenment. The range and breadth of his spiritual experiences is unparalleled in the history of spirituality. Show me one other instance of such extraordinary samadhis, of such extraordinary mystical experiences, of such extraordinarily universal teachings. No, you cannot find another example like that. That's why Vivekananda said, if image worship can produce one like Ramakrishna, worship 1,000 images, I say. So, Purnam, a capacious idea of the divine. If the divine is worshipped as Shiva, the male form, as Parvati or Durga, Kali, and Lakshmi in the female form, as Ganesha. If your God cannot be an elephant-headed God, it's an incomplete God. But if your God is only the elephant-headed God, it's also an incomplete God. So where does this extraordinarily capacious idea of divinity come from? From Purnam. It includes all of it. Last time we did Buddhism, and you can say this sounds very different from it. That sounds very minimal. Extraordinarily logical and minimal, philosophically austere. This sounds very maximal, inclusive of anything and everything. What this does is, it frees us from raga dvesha, from thinking that this alone must be right and that cannot be right. It frees us from fanaticism. It frees us from thinking that only Sri Ramakrishna, one thing he did not like at all, he would say again and again. In Bengali, he said, Matuar Buddhi, dogmatic attitude. He said, never set a limit to what God can be. Never set a limit to the infinitude of that ultimate reality. That comes from this Purnam. The fullness of what is experienced here and there. In the cause and in the effect. It's the same reality. All right, I still haven't started. Now I'm going to... If you ask those great philosophers, Nagarjuna, Chandrakirti, if you gave them this Purnam idea, what would they say? They would smile tolerantly and would say, that's cute, but it doesn't stand to reason. You must establish it on the basis of reason and experience. So that's what Advaita Vedanta sets out to do. This vision was there. In the Vedas itself, this vision was there of this Purnam. This Purnamada, Purnamidam comes from the Vedas. But how do you make it a logical philosophy, a logical worldview or God view, whatever you call it? And how do you experience it, make it part of your living, your lived life? So here goes. Advaita Vedanta, I'll take the Advaitic philosophy, which establishes this Purnam. It says, the unique thing about Advaita Vedanta is that it's not a philosophy or spiritual path which says that there's something else to be attained. What you get in Advaita Vedanta is what you have always had. And what you remove in Advaita Vedanta is something that was never there. I always say it sounds like a con job. There was this snake oil salesman in the Wild West, and he was arrested and brought before the magistrate by the sheriff on charges of offering cures to non-existent diseases and real cures to imaginary diseases and imaginary cures to real diseases. So Advaita Vedanta sounds like that. When it says, what will you get after all of this? You will get what you always had. And what will you remove? What will you get rid of? What will you improve after all of this? He said, what was never there. That's what you're going to get rid of. In Sanskrit, this is called praptasya prapti, nivrittasya nivritti. But they mean it, praptasya prapti means attaining what is already attained. Nivrittasya nivritti means removing, negating, curing, something that was never there. But what does it mean then? It is because of our ignorance, what is already attained, what was always there, seems to be not there. Advaita Vedanta says, you are Brahman. You are not this body, not this mind. You are limitless existence, consciousness, bliss. And you are that right now, whether you know it or not. Whether you believe it or not. Whether you think you're experiencing it or not. Advaita Vedanta says, it's right there. It's already attained. Just because of ignorance, it feels like, no, I don't know this. I don't experience this. I don't see this. I've told you sometimes about this class I used to attend of Ashtavakra Samhita from a great teacher in the Himalayas, in Gangotri. And sometimes, teaching us this doctrine, this teaching, he would look at us and he would say, oh monks, whether you believe it or not, whether you experience it or not, the truth is, you are Rama. Tum jano ya na jano, mano ya na mano, tum hi Ram. Your Rama means you're God. You're one with God. And what does it remove? Samsara. I am here in spiritual life because I am suffering. Like the Buddha said, there is suffering. So the first noble truth. And that has to be removed. I am suffering. I am going through birth. I'm afraid of birth and death, this cycle of birth and death. I'm terribly afraid of death. I'm afraid of old age and sickness. I'm afraid of financial ruin. And I'm suffering from the miserable behavior of others. Or from generally the suffering of humanity and other living beings in this world. There is so much suffering here. I'm suffering, and spirituality promises to take me beyond suffering. Every religious path gives you a solution. In this way you will go beyond suffering. In samadhi or by going to heaven or something like that. The Advaitic path tells you that yes, this suffering actually, what you're thinking, it's always removed. You are beyond suffering. It's because of ignorance that you think that you're in suffering. All right. So this sounds very crazy. It sounds cool. I think Americans will love it. It sounds kind of counterintuitive.
Okay, let's hear.
But how do we make sense of it? How do we make sense of the fact that right here, right now, I am that absolute truth and I am beyond suffering. And so are we all. So Advaita Vedanta starts with experience. Not extraordinary experience, not mystical experience. See, the trick there is that someone might promise, all of this can be experienced, you don't have to believe it. But how do you experience it? Well, you put in the hard work of 40 years of meditation and then maybe you'll experience it. If you don't, better luck next life. That is no good. Advaita Vedanta says what we are talking about is right now. It is being experienced now, but you don't recognize it. You know what it's like? If Jim is here, and I don't know who Jim is, and I'm looking at him, and somebody introduces, that's Jim. I say, oh, I see, now I get it, that's Jim. Did I see somebody new? No, I was already looking at him. But I just recognized that this is Jim. Advaita Vedanta is like that. It brings us to see what is already there, but we never saw it earlier. The beautiful story of the washerman's diamond. The washerman found a diamond, but he didn't know what the diamond was. He just thought it's a rock. It's an odd-looking rock. And in India, washermen, they will take your laundry out to the river bank and they will slam it on the rocks. And they'll wash it. They'll get it clean, but you'll be horrified at what they do to the fabric. And then they'll scrub it clean. And they use that rock. So he used to use this diamond to scrub dirty clothes. And he didn't know he had got something that could remove all his poverty. But he was curious. This rock is different from all other rocks. So let me ask my friend, the vegetable seller. And the vegetable seller was a little more thoughtful than the washerman. And he said, well, this rock, it's pretty. So I'll give you a bag of brinjals for it. The washerman did not sell it. He took it to somebody else who knew a little more. Finally, he took it to a diamond merchant. And the diamond merchant said, this is a magnificent diamond. I'll give you millions of rupees for it. And so all the washerman's needs were removed, his poverty was gone forever. Now that's a parable. The parable points to the fact that we already have the rock. But like the washerman, we don't know that it's a diamond. And Advaita Vedanta is like the diamond merchant who wants to introduce us to it so that all our problems are solved immediately. So what is this rock which we all have already, right now? It is experience. In Sanskrit, anubhava. What experience? All experience. Any experience. All right now I'm going to begin introducing us to the rock. So follow closely. Experience, when we look at our experience, which experience? All experience. Notice one thing about experience. All experience has this structure. In every experience you find, I am the subject and this is the object. Subject and object. Look around right now, all the time. And right now, I am the subject. Take it in a very naive way. Don't be too non-dualistic and just in a very straightforward way. Here I am the subject, and here is the object, the objective universe. I can see people, I can see chairs and the hall, I can see the road and the trees outside and the sunlight, all of that. And I can only not only see, I can hear and smell and taste and touch. This is, I am the subject and I'm experiencing the object. What else appears to me? Before doing any Vedanta, just common sense. I, the subject, seem to be this body. It is instinctive. I am this body. And it seems to me this world of objects is continuously changing. I am sort of unchanging because I have been there since my childhood, as far as I remember, from babyhood. And I guess I will live for some more time. So although I am unchanging, see the paradox of it. Although I feel I am the same one, but I feel I'm going to die. And this world is continuously changing, but I feel this will go on. It existed before me and it will continue to exist after me. Right? That's what we feel instinctively. I'm going to die. And not only that, I am dependent on this world of objects for everything. For my pleasure, for my entertainment, for my very sustenance. The world provides me with food without which I would die. The world provides me with air without which I would suffocate in a minute. The world provides me with shelter and with friends and with knowledge, with entertainment. When I'm bored, there is the TV or the internet. When I want to study, there are books. Everything that is good, worthwhile, and gives me happiness is provided by the world. Or at least, even if it's not provided, often it's withheld. And I am dependent on the world for all my happiness. True. On the other hand, the world also provides me with a lot of suffering. There is disease and pain which the world can inflict upon me. And there is physical pain, emotional pain inflicted by the behavior of other people and what's going on in the world. All my suffering seems to be caused by the object. And all possibility of happiness and nice, pleasant is the object. I am dependent helplessly upon the object. And very soon I will be crushed out of existence, dead. This is what appears to me in experience. Now bring Vedanta into play. Vedanta introduces, the first thing it introduces is a simple observation. You are the subject, right? Yes. And you experience, right? Yeah. And what do you experience? The object. That's true. Notice that the subject and the object cannot be the same thing. Object is what you experience, and subject is you, the experiencer. Notice also, consciousness or awareness is always on the side of the subject. I, the subject, am conscious of what? Of the object, and of also myself. So consciousness is on my side. You might say, why can't consciousness be on the object side? After all, there are so many conscious beings. But notice, when we look at the object, whatever we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, they are objects but not consciousness. I can see you, I can see your body, I can hear your voice, I can see your behavior, If I'm a telepath, I can look into your mind and see your thoughts also, or experience your thoughts, but I can never objectify your consciousness, your awareness. So the subject is that which experiences and is separate from the object. And the subject is also conscious. The object, consciousness is never object. It is always the subject. Now if we apply that, then we see something remarkable happening. The first result which emerges from it is, when we look at ourselves, the subject, we notice what seemed instinctive to us, that I am the subject. Where is the subject? Here. But then here, this body, am I not aware of the body? Yes, I am. And the principle is, whatever you are aware of is an object. And you are the subject, which is awareness. Or at least awareness is on your side. So if I'm aware of the body by definition must be an object, like this. This, like the clothes that I'm wearing, object. Then in this case, this body, it is an object. In fact, it's an object to all my senses. I can see it, I can touch it, I can smell it, taste it, even hear it, the sounds of the heartbeat or your tummy rumbling. All my five senses objectify the body. The body, I begin to discover, is an object. Just like things out there, it's a thing. It's a remarkable thing. It's an extraordinary biological machine. But it's still a thing. And anything that is an object to consciousness it cannot be the subject. Till now I thought I, the subject, I am this one, but I now realize this is the world of objects and part of it is the body. And that's common sense. You don't need Vedanta for it. It's just a little bit of reflection shows, yes, just as this body is an object to my doctor, the doctor who prods it and probes it and scans it and tests it, it's an object. It's a biological living object. For me also it's a biological living object. It may be the vehicle I'm embodied in right now, but still it's an object. And to me the consciousness, quite palpably so.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there. Wow. Wow. Whoa. 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 Now we're getting somewhere spicy.
This is the good stuff.
Now it's getting crazy. This is what ooh. This is right up my alley right now. Oh my gosh. This is Han approved. Man, I'm excited just hearing this kind of stuff. We have a lot to go through. So, as you can tell, I've been taking notes. So let's just go through some of this stuff, man. This is just, this is exciting information right here. So I'm so excited, as you can tell. So, okay, so we have, if you have strong attachments, which is what we were excited about because we were just talking about having attachments in Buddhist philosophy. And if you have strong attachments, likes and dislikes, this leads to hatred. This leads to war. People need to realize that. If you love something so much, it leads to hatred. If you love, women's rights and you're just all about women, you love it, it leads to hatred in men. If you're all about men, it leads to hatred and resentment in women. It goes with anything. This is what wars are fought over because people love resources. People love items. People love something made up called money. People love this stuff. So if you love something that much, it's going to lead to war. It's going to lead to hatred. It's going to lead to killing. It's going to lead to negativity upon the world. That's what people need to realize. And so the non-dualistic transforms into Purnam. So what's non-dualistic? What's dualistic? That means two things, multiple things. Oneness is Purnam. So non-dualistic leads to Purnam. And then that Purnam frees us from that dogmatic attitude in which we limit what can be God. We can limit what can be this, what can be that, instead of just relaxing and releasing that information and realizing that everything is God. Is there anything you want to touch on? Because I'm just so excited about this whole thing, Kelly.
Yeah, that's That's really good. Where he just left off, I really want to get into that part. But it's exactly right. If you're it's just all about the attachment. If you're really, really attached to something, it's just going to build it just builds up negative emotions one way or the other, whether it is, you having hatred for the opposite, or say you lose that thing that you have such strong attachments for. That's going to hurt as well. And that's going to eventually cause negative emotion as well. So as we were just saying before he said it, all attachment is not good. We have to be in the flow. We have to be in acceptance. So.
Yep. So, okay. So you wanted to talk about more of the end?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll just go through what I want to get through then, and then we'll both talk about the end. But okay. So I love when he said what you get with the Vedanta is what you've always had, and what you lose is what you've never had. Wow, that is such a powerful statement and quote by Swami. I mean, that is absolutely just enlightening, just in and of itself. What you get is what you've always had. What you lose is something you've never had. And people need to realize what that truly means and realize how far that goes, because everyone is looking for something that they don't have. People are looking for things and seeking validation in something that you don't even have, that's not real. Mm-hmm. Instead of realizing that you're an infinite being and that's truly all you need is infinity. All you need is the realization of that you are infinite, that you are greater than you know, that you are beyond this physical body. You are beyond space and time. You exist beyond space and time. You are an aspect of God. You are an aspect of Purnam. You are oneness. So you can't be defined by your body. You can't be defined by your mind. What you have is what you've always have. You just never realized it. So that it's just so awesome hearing him say these kind of things. And, you have to realize how limitless you are. And limitless is being experienced right now at all times. People need to realize that throughout all space and time, you are limitless. I mean, it's just so brilliant, so awesome to hear him talk about it. Like whenever he said, if you look at someone and you say, hey, my name is Jim. Oh, okay. I just learned your name. You're Jim. Or if you look at someone and they say, you meet them, blah, blah, blah. Hey, I'm actually the president of the United States. Oh, you're the president. Oh my God. I didn't know that. But you're looking at the person. You're looking at them the whole time. You knew that they were existing. You knew that you're aware of them. But just hearing that little information adds a spark of awareness that you never had before. So it lets you learn more things. And that's what he's speaking of in Vedanta. It's just an awareness that you are limitless, an awareness that you are this infinite being. Man, I love this philosophy because this is what I preach.
Yeah, that one, it actually really reminds me of A Course in Miracles, the lessons in there, where it's kind of the same idea, but of course it's through the lens of Christianity. But it's teaching the same ideas. If you go through those daily lessons or read the text, it's the same thing where it's making you totally change your perspective. And, everything you thought that you were makes you realize you weren't. And it makes you realize what you truly were. Like one of the quotes that I like from it is, I am one self, united with my creator, at one with every aspect of creation and limitless in power and peace.
Wow.
So it teaches those same type of ideas where it's slowly but surely making you think completely differently and making you realize everything you thought you were, you're not. And you're so much more than what you thought you were.
I love that, Kelly. I love that so much. And you're such a talented and beautiful mind. And you're going to help so many people just by reading that kind of information and doing this. And that's what this is all for, is helping people. And we're helping ourselves by helping people. That's, how you truly experience enlightenment, and how you can truly change the world is by changing yourself and helping others to change. So let's keep going. He said that I am the subject of my life. And the world is always changing. So you believe that you're the subject of your life. As you grow up, you've always been in this body. You know who you are. You see people around you change. You might move into different houses. You change through stages of life, but you're always you, and the world around you is always changing. Yet you still believe that you're going to die and the world is going to outlive you. which is absolutely an insane thing to think of. To think if, going back to how he said, you look at things logically and inquire logically. That doesn't make sense. So I love how he put that, and I love how he said that. And he explains how you're depending on the world, and all the suffering you get is from the world. All the positivity is caused by the world, which is an object. And, but you're still the subject, and you experience the object. So it's the subject and the object cannot be the same thing. If you're looking at a table, you're not the table. You are you. You are the subject. The table's the object. The table's a thing. The table doesn't have a consciousness. So if I'm looking at Kelly, not to objectify women, but her body is an object because I'm looking at it. It's a thing. That's not where consciousness is. If I'm looking at her hand, her consciousness isn't in her hand. So you're objectifying it. It's a thing. This mouse that I have in my hand, it's a thing. This microphone is a thing. So you're the subject, but you're looking at different things, and you have to be aware of that. So you want to get into this, Kelly, because this is where it gets interesting, where he says the subject is conscious and separate from the object, but you have a body. And if you're aware of it, then it's an object.
Yeah, this is great stuff right here, because this part actually reminds me of this book I read, The Untethered Soul. You may have read it or heard of it. And it's really great, and it really helps you learn the same thing as well. That one is more so about teaching you that the voice in your head is not you, because you hear it, right? Yep. So you can't hear something and be it at the same time. So it's the same thing with your body.
Yep. I remember you telling me that. I love that. I love that, Kelly. Keep speaking. That's facts. That's fact. Keep going, man. That's woo.
Exactly.
He's spitting, guys. He's spitting. Keep going. Say that again. Say that one more time.
Our voice in our mind, the thoughts we hear all the time, 24/7.
Yep.
We are so attached to them. We think it's us because we hear it constantly, and it's in our own mind.
You hear it.
But it's not you.
But if you hear it,
exactly.
It's an object, guys.
I mean,
come on, man. That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. If you hear it, it's an object,
and as
man.
He says,
that's crazy, Kelly.
It has, by the formula, it has to be an object. So it's the same with our body. And I don't know if you guys, I've had a couple really deep experiences like this, typically after being in the bathtub if I'll meditate for a bit. But you can think of it like this. If you ever had a lucid dream, and like that moment that you become aware in the lucid dream, you're like, oh, I'm in a lucid dream. I can literally do whatever I want. And I've had that a couple times in real life. And it's a really, really deep feeling. And it's like that really full awareness where you actually truly, truly, truly realize that you are just in your body and you can do whatever you want. And it sounds so simple, but it feels so magnificent when you feel it. And you really come to that realization that you're like, oh, wow, like I am just in this body. Like you are an actual avatar, which we kind of are, because we are not our bodies. We are our souls. We are our consciousness.
Yep.
And this is just our tool. It really is. It's not us. It is just our tool. We are inside of here. And we can use it and we can do whatever I want. We are always constantly deciding, you move this, you move your finger, you pick this up, you go here, you go there. You're the one controlling it and you are directing it. So we are not our bodies. And I was actually just reading a Dolores Cannon book last night, Convoluted Universe, talking about Atlantis. And it was saying that they had the power to move consciousness into animals and things like this. So it goes to show that we're not our bodies at all. If they had the power to take our consciousness, the people of Atlantis.
Oh, I'm like, who are you talking about?
Yeah, the people of Atlantis could, take a consciousness and put it into an animal and be that consciousness in the animal's body. So our body is not us.
Yeah, and even Thoth the Atlantean said that, if you go back and read the Emerald Tablets, he said he had an avatar body and he can do that. But I love how he says that all five senses objectify the body. If it is an object to the subject, then it cannot be the subject. So That is just so incredible. This is just so exciting, man. I love this kind of video, man. I love this stuff,
I think
guys.
it's just starting to get.
It's starting to heat up. I
Mhm.
live, I breathe this stuff, as you know. If you guys are watching this, you know as well. I mean, this is what needs to be out in society every day.
In that case, I am not literally the body. The body is there. I'm not denying it. I seem to be embodied in this body. I seem to be, in close proximity with this body. It's there. But I am not literally it. Not only that, if I am this conscious subject, my experiences go on without the experience of the body. Let me repeat that. My experiences go on. For example, in dreams. When I fall asleep, the body is there on the bed and sleeping. I still continue to have experiences. My dreams, pleasant dreams, nightmares, all of that continues, and there's no part of that dream is the body sleeping on the bed. I've completely forgotten it. What am I saying? Our conscious experience as subjects can go on without reference to this physical body. That's all I'm saying. That also goes to reinforce the idea that I, as a conscious subject, am not literally the body. My conscious experiences can go on without experiencing the body. You might say, wait, just a minute, you're pulling a fast one. Because after all, you, the conscious being, this conscious subject, is being generated by the body. The body is the reality, and the body, the brain and the nervous system are generating you, the so-called subject consciousness, which is dreaming. So you actually don't exist apart from the body. You are not a separate reality apart from the body. You are just something that's an epiphenomenon, a product of the body, processes in the body. But that's not established at all. Forget Vedanta. Even in hard science, that's what's called the hard problem of consciousness. You have that right now, there is just simply no way of reducing our first-person experience as subjects, as consciousness, to the processes in the brain. That's the whole issue, the hot topic in consciousness studies. So we will go with this. I am consciousness. I continue to exist in dreams also without reference to the body, so I cannot literally be the body. Even further, even our minds, they're also objects. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, ideas, memories, all of them I experience. If I experience them, then it's an object. I am the experiencing consciousness. This distinction between mind and consciousness, pretty much well understood in Buddhism, Sankhya, Yoga, Advaita, not understood in modern consciousness studies. Still, if you ask a person in consciousness studies, what is it that you're studying? They will give a vague answer like consciousness, mind, emotion, ideas, memories, perceptions, all of that together. But no. Now we have this analytic knife to distinguish between consciousness and the mental objects, thoughts, emotions, ideas. In fact, what we consider to be our personality. A person might say that, I really literally don't think I'm a bundle of flesh and blood, but I'm a person. I have a personal history, I have thoughts, feelings, emotions, ideas. This is who I am. But all those thoughts, feelings, emotions, ideas are also objects. Some of them were not there a little while ago. Some of them have come up in your awareness now. Some of them will fade away over years. So you continue. Wife for a reason, guys. What is you that continues? It can't be a thought. Thoughts they come and go just like that. It can't be a memory. They arise and fade away. It can't be a bundle of memories also. You are that bare consciousness which continues through the arising and disappearing of thoughts and emotions and ideas. So I am not even the mind. The mind is there, the person is there, but I am the consciousness which is dressed in the mind, dressed in the person, and dressed in the body. Vedanta gives a rather subtle, little bit of reasoning to prove this. It says that in deep sleep, as we go from dreams to deep sleep, do you still exist or not? Now, one might say, I don't exist. In deep sleep, it's nothing. It's just I'm not there. But then you would be put in a very strange position of saying that if I don't exist in deep sleep, and I cannot deny that there is a phenomenon called deep sleep, then in that case, every time I wake up, I'm created anew. I pop out of existence when I fall asleep, and I pop into existence when I wake up. It's very strange. Nobody will accept that. It's against common sense. It's against law. Law says that the one who went to sleep and the one who woke up is one and the same person, continue to exist. It's much better to say that, there's some kind of sleep mode like computers have. So we went into a kind of hibernation, no activity, no experience of objects, but you existed. And if you are that consciousness, you existed. Advaita puts forward an interesting proposition. What happens in deep sleep, general anesthesia, coma, is that you continue to exist completely unaffected as this pure awareness, but no object is presented to you. It's like light in deep space. If you look at deep space, it looks dark, but it's full of light streaming from the sun. It's only when there is some object to reflect that light, suddenly you see something flashing and shining, like a comet racing through the solar system. You can see the brilliant display of the tail of the comet. But the comet doesn't come with its internal lighting. It's just light from the sun which is being reflected by the tail of the comet. And you see the brilliant display there. Similarly, if all objects are removed, there's nothing to see outside for because you're fallen asleep. You're not seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, not even aware of the body, not even dreaming, deep sleep, no physical objects, no mental objects, just blank. That's deep sleep. That doesn't mean consciousness is gone. So Advaita says in deep sleep, it's not an absence of consciousness. It's a consciousness of absence. It's not that awareness is gone, but you're aware of only blankness and absence. What comes out when you wake up is just the appearance of these objects. So therefore, I am not even the mind, because I continue as consciousness when the mind is gone in deep sleep, anesthesia, coma. So this one consciousness, which experiences through the mind and body, the physical body and the external objects, through the mind, dream objects, mental objects, and when mind and body are not appearing, just the absence of the mind and body, this one continuous consciousness, can it die? So what changes and dies? Objects, all the time, by our own experience. But consciousness itself, can it die? If it was generated by the brain, it could die, because the brain will die after some time, in the death of the body. But if you say it cannot be generated by the brain, heart problem, care of the heart problem of consciousness, how will it die? It requires change, but consciousness itself is unchanging. You say, are we supposed to believe that? Consciousness seems to be changing all the time. Early in the morning, I'm a little sleepy, and then I have a cup of coffee, sleepy. And then I'm more conscious. Well, Vedanta would say what was sleepy was the mind. And what became more sharp and alert is the mind after a cup of coffee. Not consciousness itself. Consciousness revealed you as the sleepy mind. Consciousness revealed the alert mind. Consciousness was not sleepy or alert. It was self-same shining consciousness. This is a logical reason why I'm saying that consciousness cannot change. Why? If it changes, and you can speak about it, you can describe it, anything that you can speak about, describe, observe is an object to consciousness. Then the change must be in the object, not in consciousness. If it was in consciousness, it could not be objectified. But one might say that, all right, let consciousness change, but we cannot see it, we cannot experience it. Then why talk of it at all? That which can never be known, why postulate it? So there is this reasoning which shows that consciousness logically cannot change. Pure consciousness, bare awareness cannot change. Change is that which appears to consciousness. The object changes, the limited things changes. The world of objects continuously changes. That's why we have the intuitive feeling. Even when we are not doing Vedanta, we have this intuitive feeling, I am the same one. From babyhood to teenage to middle age to old age, somehow I am the same one. You have this intuitive feeling. If consciousness cannot change, how can it die? How can it die? In Vedanta, consciousness is said to be unborn and undying. If I am unborn and undying, I have no fear of death. I, the consciousness, have no fear of death. remember what we felt like earlier? I am entirely dependent on the world for all the goodies, and I'm scared of the world for all the baddies which come from the world. Now this one consciousness, think of this consciousness, do a mental experiment now, without reference to the world. You're not seeing anything, hearing anything, smelling, tasting, touching anything. You're not aware of the body, imagine in deep sleep. You're not thinking anything. You're not remembering anything. Suppose all memories of your personality have been erased. You've left it aside. No awareness of the external world. No memories. No thoughts. No sense of I even. Just the bare awareness. This bare awareness, what does it want? What does it want? As you're saying, nothing. Are you with me, some of you? You're following? It wants nothing. Because wanting comes with the activity of the mind. Right? What does it, or whom does it hate? Nothing. What does it expect? What is its guilt, sorrow, regret? Nothing. That comes with the activity of the mind. What is it waiting for? What God to appear, what samadhi to be attained, what enlightenment event. What is it waiting for? Nothing. It is deathless. It is beyond desire. It's beyond suffering, beyond wanting. It is timeless. Because time becomes obvious only when the mind starts working. Space becomes obvious only when the senses start working. You see, even when Advaita Vedanta says Brahman is all-pervading, there's already accepting space. You have accepted space, then you say it's all-pervading. When Brahman is eternal, and Buddhists have a great objection to that something is eternal. But that's only after you have accepted time, then you find a division between all objects are changing continuously, so Brahman must be eternal. But even time and space are appearances in consciousness, thanks to the mind. This one consciousness, it is deathless, it's birthless, it is complete in itself, it does not want anything at all. Does it want enlightenment, this consciousness itself? No. Some of you are not confident. If you think about it, just do a thought experiment. You will say, no, if it's something like that is there, it will not want enlightenment. And if I am that, I don't want enlightenment. And this one consciousness, someone might say, yes, but that's a very kind of abstract thing. No world, no body, no mind, and then there's some bare awareness. It's not our usual worldly experience. But wait a minute. Right now, what you call the usual worldly experience, is that awareness there, here, now? Think about it this way. Are you aware right now? You'll all say, yeah, we are aware. We are seeing you. How do you know? We are having experiences. We are seeing you. All right, close your eyes. You're not seeing me anymore. You're not seeing anything anymore. Are you still aware? What do you think? I can't see your responses. You have to say yes. Yes. I'm still aware. And similarly, if I plug my ears, in a sensory deprivation tank, I don't see anything, hear, smell, taste, touch anything, would I still be aware? Yeah, I'd still be aware. I'd be thinking, when is this going to end? And if I stop thinking there, no thoughts, no memories, no ideas, no desires, would I still be there? Would that awareness would be there? Logically, yes, because those are objects. If I drop them, why would the subject disappear? But it's not experiencing anything, but it's still awareness is there. Even if I drop the sense of I, the awareness, just drop that also, the awareness would still continue. And that awareness, which is there in the absence of world, body, mind, is also there right now. In fact, if you don't see, you still exist as awareness. If you don't think, you still exist as awareness. But suppose, just thought experiment, suppose that awareness itself were not there. Would you be able to see? The experience of seeing? That consciousness, that awareness, if it were not there, be bold. Just think, look at your experience. I, the awareness shining, I'm aware of thoughts. Through the thoughts, I'm aware of the body-mind. Through the body-mind, I'm aware of this. external world. If I, the awareness, were not there, would this experience of seeing be possible? No. Would the experience of hearing, smelling, tasting, touching be possible? No. Would the experience of thinking, experience of the spiritual quest, would any experience be possible if I, the awareness, were not there? No. So this awareness, because of this, we are constantly having all these experiences. And forgetting the nature of this awareness, we are only using it for all these experiences. We are using a diamond to scrub dirty laundry. We are using it for seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting. We are using it for ambition and greed and fighting and hating. We are using it for suffering. And we are using it for a spiritual quest to take us beyond suffering. But this awareness in itself is beyond suffering already. Even in the midst of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, it's beyond suffering. What suffers? This awareness forgetting its real nature? In alliance with the mind and the senses and one body becomes a suffering living being, sentient being. The awareness recognizing its own nature with the help of the mind. How do you recognize? With the help of the mind. Recognizing its own nature in the midst of hearing, smelling, tasting, talking, living, doing whatever has to be done in life is free of suffering. If I identify myself, if I note that I am that bare awareness, no matter what happens, I'm actually free of suffering, in the midst of suffering also. Sri Ramakrishna, an example, famous example, dying of throat cancer. And his disciple, Hari, Swami Turiyananda, young boy, comes and says, how are you today, sir? And Sri Ramakrishna says, oh, it hurts, I cannot eat. And this young man, for some reason, says to him, but sir, I see that you're in great delight. Apni anande achen. The cruel thing to say to a cancer patient. Sri Ramakrishna bursts out laughing and says, oh, the rascal has found me out. He admits that this boy is right. I am in great bliss. Now, was he acting that he is in pain and he cannot eat? Is it his play acting? No, it's true. Just like any cancer patient suffers, he suffered. But like most cancer patients do not have this insight, which in the midst of suffering gives him this oasis of peace. That I am in my real nature.
Oh my gosh, I just get so excited watching it and listening to it. It's just so there's a lot to cover. Oh my gosh. So he's talking about being embodied in this body, but you are not the body. If you are the body, if I am not the body, my experiences go on without the body, just like in dreams. So it doesn't matter if you are the body is an object, you are the subject, the body is an object. So why wouldn't your consciousness go on without the body? Because the body is not creating the consciousness. The body is just a body that's holding the consciousness. So you're going to go on regardless, just like whenever you're dreaming, you have no awareness of your body when you're sleeping. Especially when you're in a deep dream, you don't think I'm sleeping on a bed. There's no aspect. Of course, some people might have dreams like that where they're in them, but I'm talking about when you're just having an actual dream, you're not thinking about, oh, I'm in my body right now. So it goes back to which one is real, this and that. That's not real, but it is real because you're in it. But either way, you're experiencing it without the body. So no part of the dream, you are sleeping in the bed with your body. And as we said earlier, thoughts, emotions, anything you can describe are the object. Mm-hmm. So it's just so cool and interesting to hear him say that because we just said that before he said it. Kelly said it. And it's just it's a big relief to even hear him talk like that. And we give our experiences, and because we're very into spiritual content, we're very into philosophy, we're very into learning. So a lot of this information, like I always say, we know the true core of it, but just hearing him say it is so awesome, so enlightening, so different that I just love it so much. And it's just so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think of our podcast episode that we just did, was check it out if you didn't see that.
Podcast every Friday, guys.
Yes.
But go ahead.
And we talked about, past lives and our souls after death or before life. And it goes to show that, if we go through various lives, and even after we die, our soul, it still goes on and it looks, oh, well, that's the life I had. That was fun, wasn't it? And then go through a life review, and then we go back to remembering all our past lives. And then when people go to past life regression and they can see their past lives, because it's still all stored away in our consciousness, but it's too much to remember right here and now in this life, because that would be very, very confusing and mind rattling to remember all of the lives you've lived. So we have lived in various different bodies, different types of bodies. But even after those are gone, our consciousness goes on, and it's still one stream of consciousness that can be tapped into in past life regression, because it's all stored in the consciousness and within our soul, which is what we truly are.
Exactly. And one of the quotes that he said that was so powerful to me was, deep sleep is not an absence of consciousness, but a consciousness of absence. So truly think about that. When you're in deep sleep, there's not an absence of consciousness. There's just a consciousness of absence, a consciousness of nothing. So that's where, this stuff can get really paradoxical, even whenever you're thinking about the nature of reality and why does anything exist? Because even if nothing exists, that's something that exists. So non-existence exists, which is a paradox. How could non-existence exist? Therefore, it doesn't exist. Therefore, there has to be existence. There, we just solved the nature of reality. But it's just so cool and interesting. You're supposed to laugh at that. But it's just so cool and interesting to it's just so cool and interesting to hear all this stuff. And I love these perspectives. But he's also talking about, if consciousness cannot change, then how can it die, guys? If your consciousness doesn't change, your consciousness doesn't want for anything. And in my perspective, we're all here on this earth to achieve perfection of the soul. That's truly what we're here for, just to learn and experience new things. But at the highest level, at the highest form, when you're just God, there's nothing you want. You already have it. You achieved everything. There's nothing. It's just you have it. You're existing. But exactly what he said, if consciousness cannot change, how can it die? That's what people have to really think and wonder. And, deathless, timeless, beyond desire, like your consciousness cannot die. It's beyond desire. It's beyond time. Time doesn't exist to your consciousness. That's what people need to realize and to learn. And it brings me back to whenever you said consciousness has no desire. Something I always say is no insistence, no resistance. You can't have insistence on an outcome or resistance to an outcome. And that's where your consciousness is, where it's just in between, no insistence and no resistance. And it's just going in perfect flow and harmony with reality and the cosmic waves of creation. And that's where we all want to get to, where we're just in perfect harmony, in perfect waves of creation. And there's no experience will be possible without awareness. And, it's just, if you didn't have your mind, if you didn't have, your actual consciousness, you couldn't experience anything. You could have someone who's not brain dead, who their brain is working. You can take a dead person, turn their brain on, turn their eyes on, everything is working, but no one's there to see. No one's there to think. Nothing's there. So your consciousness isn't your body. It's not your brain. You have to have consciousness to be aware. And I just love the end of the story. He's talking about the oasis of peace from suffering, because, once you're into this information and truly understand that you do have an oasis of peace. A couple of years ago, I was in the hospital and everyone there was like telling me, oh, you should have died. I had a mini stroke. They're telling me my organs are failing. They're telling me the worst information possible. And at no point in time was I sad. At no point in time was I crying. At no point in time was I, thinking this is the worst thing that's happened to me. The whole time I was thinking, oh, that's completely fine. It's completely normal. I'm just going with the flow. If this happens, then that's good. Something good will come from it, because everything that happens is good. I mean, they had, basically psychiatrists in there, priests, healers, people in there, like questioning me, are you okay? They're calling me like, yo, is everything fine? How are you this normal during this whole thing? And I'm like, dude, it's completely fine. I know that my body and my mind are healthy. That's all I need to know. Everything else will work itself out. And I always believe I'm the healthiest I've ever been. So hearing him say that, and a lot of people think, oh, that would be me. That would be me. Even I was thinking, oh, that would be me. But then whenever it happened, I was like, oh, okay, it is me. Because you don't really know until you're tested. And, it's not necessarily a fun thing, but it is, fun to experience new things. It's strange in that way, where I wouldn't want it to happen. I wouldn't want it to happen again, but, I'm grateful for the experience for sure. So that's awesome. We have a little bit left. So
yeah, and I really admire and look up to Han for how he handled that whole experience and still handle that today. And when I go through times that start to feel a little tough, I think about how he handled that and stayed positive through the hardest time of his life, and would be extremely hard for anyone to go through, and how he handled that. And I think if he can handle that through that, or, stay positive through that, then, it rubs off on me, and I should be able to be positive through something that's 1/100th of the difficulty of that. And I think it just comes down to, the way I see it, is consciousness is not awareness. It's the awareness of the awareness. So, you can look at this plant right here and think you're aware that it's a plant. But that's really that voice in your head that's aware of that, right?
Yep.
And so it's the next level deeper, where you're aware of the thought in your head of being aware of that.
Ooh.
And then you choose what to do with all this awareness and how to migrate and how to work through the world.
I love that. That's great. Awesome. All right. We got a little bit left. Might as well let's go ahead and finish this off. This is so exciting. Let me just see something. All right. Let's see what he says.
I am in my real nature as awareness, which is not an object, which illumines all objects, including this painful object of a cancer and a tumor and a dying body. I am all right. I was before this appearance of this cancerous tumor, and I'll be there after this cancerous tumor disappears and the body disappears. I am in the middle of that also. In the middle of this appearance also, I'm fine. And this is not just Sri Ramakrishna. All of us, we have that diamond right now, which takes us beyond suffering, which is itself beyond suffering, which makes possible, however, the experience of suffering. If that awareness were not there, would you experience suffering? No. You would not experience anything. So experience of pleasure, experience of pain, experience of bondage, experience of liberation, all of them, samsara and liberation, moksha, appear and disappear in that same field of awareness. And that awareness you are. You say, oh, this is great. Advaita Vedanta, wonderful. What I just quoted now is literally a line from Mahayana Buddhism. Samsara and nirvana both are phenomena appearing in that limitless and clear light of the void. You see how it seems to come together. One more step is necessary. So right now it seems I have isolated myself as pure awareness. I investigated the subject, the seer, the experiencer, in Sanskrit, drashta, and I've separated myself from the drisya, this world. I am the subject, pure awareness. The world appears to me, and I am just this awareness, bare awareness. But then one might ask, first, what is this world then? What is its relationship to you, the awareness? And how is this non-duality? This seems like complete duality. Awareness and a world of objects. Right? That's what we have achieved so far. No non-duality so far. This is Sankhya philosophy, a Sankhya dualism. The world of objects and this awareness. Now, Advaita Vedanta comes and says, Tattvam Asi, the reality which appears as this world of objects and the reality, this awareness which you are, they are one and the same reality. That which appears as this universe is called Brahman. That which appears as you, this awareness, is called Atman. And Advaita Vedanta says Atman is Brahman. That's the conclusion. You are that. Atman is Brahman. In that book, Jim Holt's book, Why Does the World Exist? This is not an inquiry into oneself. It's an inquiry into this universe. And there he goes around asking, philosophers, nuclear physicists, cosmologists like Roger Penrose, mathematicians, computer scientists, people of religion, theologians, why does this world exist? And towards the end of that book, he asks a famous American philosopher who passed recently, Robert Nozick. And he asked, same question. And after some discussion, the philosopher seems to sort of metaphorically throw up his hands and says, who knows, maybe the Hindus are right, Atman is Brahman. So Advaita Vedanta comes in and says, no, that material reality is not apart from you. Because Atman is Brahman, what you found as that bare awareness, yourself as this limitless awareness, and what it is experiencing as this world of objects, whose reality is Brahman, they are not two. Atman is Brahman. Sam Altman, ChatGPT, he also said that. Atman. Somebody asked him that, tell us something that you believe which most people don't know or don't believe. And he said, Atman is Brahman. How does that solve our problem, establish non-duality? Here is it. As one great master said in Hindi, he said, ये तो ठीक है कि दृष्टा दृश्य से अलग है, लेकिन कभी सोचा है दृश्य क्या दृष्टा से अलग है? What does it mean? It is true. Consciousness is distinct and apart from all the objects. You are awareness, distinct and apart from all this world of objects, changing objects, including body and mind. But have you ever thought, consider this thought, is this world of objects, sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, physical body, mind, is this world of objects distinct from you? You are distinct from all of this, but is it distinct from you? What does it mean? See, when usually two things are distinct, one thing is distinct from the other, the second one must be distinct from the first. So, for example, this microphone is distinct from this cloth. So, cloth is also distinct from the microphone. They are two separate things. How do you know? One good way of is, can you experience one in the absence of the other? Can you experience the microphone in absence of the cloth? Yes. Can you experience the cloth in absence of the microphone? Yes. So, they are separate things. But if there's something that you cannot experience in the absence of the other, you begin to think they may not be two distinct things. They seem different, but if one cannot be experienced without the other, then there must be some connection somewhere. So what? Now think about it. Objects appear to you in consciousness. You experience objects in consciousness. Consciousness can exist by itself, can appear, but can continue in the absence of objects like deep sleep, like coma, like samadhi. Consciousness can continue. But can objects be ever experienced without consciousness? What is the principle? Two things are separate if they can be experienced separately. Now I'm asking, can objects be experienced without consciousness? It's a trick question. The moment you say experienced, you're already building consciousness into that question. What is experience? Consciousness plus object. That's what we decided earlier. Objects can never be experienced in the absence of consciousness. In fact, the absence of consciousness, according to Advaita Vedanta, is an impossibility. Objects always appear to consciousness in consciousness. And then Advaita Vedanta makes this remarkable claim: if objects cannot be experienced in the absence of consciousness, then the objects cannot be different from consciousness. Somehow it must be consciousness itself experiencing itself as objects. As one monk put it, what's the nature of the eye? The nature of the eyes is to see. But when a little kid looks up into the sky, it's just empty space. There is no surface to be seen. He imagines, it seems to him like an inverted blue bowl, like a surface which he's seeing. The eyes want to see. There's no space to be seen. And so it looks like a surface. There's no surface to be seen. This empty space looks like a surface. He gives that example and says, consciousness alone exists according to Advaita Vedanta. The nature of consciousness is to experience. Look at our own experience of life. Nature of consciousness is to experience. There's nothing else except consciousness to experience. And consciousness cannot be experienced as an object. So the great conclusion is, these objects, so-called objects, are nothing but consciousness itself appearing to itself in that form. That you must give credit consciousness as innate ability of consciousness, what the Buddhists call a magical display of the phenomena of samsara and nirvana. When in samsara, struggling through spiritual life, you recognize the nature of reality as this limitless awareness, then the same samsara now appears to you as nirvana. Nagarjuna, 2,000 years ago, he said there is no distinction between samsara and nirvana. That sounds stunning, because the entire project of Buddhism is to go from samsara to nirvana. Now you're saying there's no distinction, but don't misunderstand. It does not mean that the spiritual project is wrong. In fact, that's the only project that's worthwhile. But ultimately you will see that which presents samsara to you, this world of objects, that when it's truly recognized, this very world of objects samsara will seem like nirvana, will be nirvana to you. Freedom. Because that consciousness, it neither requires samsara nor requires nirvana. It's always free. That's why Shankaracharya sings, Mano buddhi ahankar chittani naham, the chidananda rupa shivoham. Then he says, Na dharmo, na chartho, na kamo, na moksha. I don't even want moksha, nirvana. Why? Chidananda rupa shivoham, shivoham. Because I'm of the nature of consciousness and bliss. I am Shiva, I am Shiva. That's why the consciousness itself does not want moksha. It's the sentient being who feels that I'm caught in samsara. Moksha is not here as yet. Very interesting last word. Very Purnam type teacher, who said, in every path, whether you're worshipping God as mother like he did, or as the beloved Krishna, or as the Christ of the Christians, or as Allah of the Muslims, in whichever way you do, it is the same reality. You can see the Purnam philosophy behind it. Once he was asked about the Buddha and emptiness. It's in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Somebody said to him, but the Buddha was a Gnostic. A Gnostic might mean two things. One is a non-believer in the Vedas, which he was, and the other one is not believing in some God or ultimate reality, which he was not. Sri Ramakrishna immediately protested and said, why should he be a Gnostic? He could not express in language what he had discovered. He could not put it in language. Why could he not put it in language? Was his Sanskrit grammar faulty? But no, he was a very learned person, a very learned prince. He had gone through all the philosophies, and after giving up his kingdom and searching for enlightenment, he had gone to all the existing masters and learned whatever they had to teach. So he knew all that. But what he had discovered finally could not be put in language. The moment you have language, you have concepts. Language and concepts come together. And you try to put in that, you will be doing an injustice. So Sri Ramakrishna said, but he didn't explain all this. He just said he could not put in language what he had discovered. And I'm just reminded, the Buddha's great silence when he was asked these questions. I think 14 questions, he remained silent. There's a lot of discussion in Buddhist philosophy. Why did he remain silent? Not because he didn't know the answers. He knew all the answers, but none of them were adequate. Why did he remain silent? Because the real answer cannot be put in language. And that's the beginning of the Madhyamaka philosophy of Nagarjuna, who says if you clothe it in language and concepts, it's bound to be wrong. And then comes the extraordinary statement of Sri Ramakrishna. He says, Osti nastir majhe sheikhane thik thik. In Bengali, that which is between is and is not. That's exactly right. Which is a very strange statement for a Hindu teacher to make. The Hindu teacher, beyond existence and non-existence, beyond the manifest and non-manifest is Brahman. That language you find in the Upanishads, in the Gita, na sat na saduchyate, Bhagavad Gita, you find that language. But between, this between is a very peculiarly Buddhist idiom. In fact, the very word Madhyamaka means between. It's neither the extreme of some existing God, Atman, Brahman, nor the extreme of nothingness. It's between. Madhyamaka. Literally, in anybody who knows Indian languages, it sounds immediately like middle. Madhyamaka. And here Sri Ramakrishna says, that's exactly right. This most Hindu of all teachers, this image worshipper of Kali, this Purnam teacher, and he uses the word of the language of Nagarjuna and Chandrakirti and says, that's exactly right. All right, we take it as it is. It's an amazing journey into emptiness last week and into fullness this week. I pray to Sri Ramakrishna, Ma Sharada, Swami Vivekananda to bless us with that vision, with that insight which liberates us from samsara, where we can finally see samsara and nirvana or moksha as appearances in the reality that we are, this limitless awareness. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.
Suffering, basically.
Thank you very much.
Wow. That was probably the best thing I've ever seen from Swami Sarvapriyananda. I mean, that was incredible. That was like mind-boggling. I feel truly gifted and appreciative to be able to watch something like that. That was just one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. I can't, just as an overall review, I mean, he touched on so many topics. He made it interesting the whole time. He was very clear and concise and compendious with his words. It was just really an incredible thing to watch. It was, truly an anamnesis of, relearning this knowledge and bringing this knowledge forth back into the people who need to see it. That's why we like to do these kind of videos so that more people can watch it, more people can understand it, more people can view this. And I feel like Westerners in general, they need to hear this kind of information. They need to know this is out there. They need to know that, there's things that permeate, in between and beyond their religion, and that these kind of philosophies, like he said, Purnam is within all religions, and they all believe the same things, because that's what I believe, that all religions truly are one, and that everyone's worshiping the same God. So one of the things he said was Brahman and Atman is Brahman. You are that. So he was saying that you are basically the observer of the objects as the subject, but you are also the same as the object. So you are one and the same. That brings it back to oneness and experiencing oneness. And he asked, can objects be experienced without consciousness? And like you said, that's a trick question. Can objects be experienced? Because once you say experienced, you're already implying consciousness is there. Because consciousness is experience, which is very interesting. And I loved when he said that. And like I said, he said Purnam is behind all religions, because everything is this and that, everything is God essentially. So how could it not be correct? And one of the interesting things, whenever he was talking about, I believe he was talking about Buddha at the end, right?
I'm not sure.
He was either talking about Buddha or a famous Buddhist, but let's just say Buddha. Whenever they're asking him the questions, and basically the language wasn't, because I always say like the English language isn't complicated enough for me to get my ideas across sometimes. When I'm describing, let's say, Kelly's beauty or my love for her, what she means to me. But a lot of times whenever I get out of a deep meditation, and I have such a high level of awareness and enlightenment, and my vibration is just so astronomically high and out of this world, sometimes I don't even feel like speaking. I just want to take a vow of absence in silence, because nothing I could say could describe the experience I'm having, and there's no point in speaking at all. And that's probably how he felt when he just had such a high vibration, reached enlightenment at all times. There was probably nothing he could say, nothing. You just have to experience it for yourself. There's no point in speaking. There's no point in talking. I mean, it's just, there's no point in trying to even explain this information, because Well, for what? What am I going to explain it for? You can't even comprehend what I'm talking about. You can't comprehend the feeling that I'm feeling. The love that I'm experiencing in this moment is beyond anything that anyone could ever imagine. So that's what my take on that was. But overall, I'd say that was like a solid, 9 out of 10, completely, absolutely awesome. I loved it so much. I love Swami Sarvapriyananda, and we're going to keep watching his videos. Guys, keep recommending stuff. I will get to it. But Kelly, what did you think about that? The whole thing, and then maybe if you have some parts of the last part, but what do you think about the whole thing?
Just great stuff. My consciousness has definitely expanded, and I'm walking away with a lot more analogies and, short little sayings and phrases that when I talk about this with people, I can, use these examples to help other people expand their consciousness. Mine's definitely expanded, and it's probably going to, in random different ways, help my way of seeing the world at all different times. And it's great stuff. He really knows how to word it. He really knows how to get it across in a nice, calm way and funny way at times, and keep it entertaining. And I'm really glad we watched it.
Yeah, because if you know this information, like, a lot of times, like, we just, if you're into this kind of information, or your enlightenment, or you do meditation, you kind of already know a lot of this stuff. But if you can't communicate it to someone else, then what's the point of knowing it? Yep. It takes a true talented person to be able to communicate what you're thinking. And just being on this forum with Kelly and us communicating and talking, it allows us to get better at communicating and being better orators. And like with our podcast, we're talking for over an hour every time, and we're getting better and better at it. And we truly love and enjoy it. Check out the podcast. New episodes every Friday, guys. The next podcast, we might even do it on Purnam. Who knows? We'll see. So, but thank you guys for watching so much. We love all of you, and we're so grateful to be on this experience with you.
Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
See you guys. Hey guys, if you want to learn more about Vedanta, I have a blog article on my website. You can click it and read the whole layout and what it's all about from a Westerner's perspective. And if you like the video, like, subscribe, and comment. It only takes 1 second, and it lets me know that you guys enjoy the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy.